No M's.
M's.
Dang it.
No
Dang
M's.
it.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of M's in Reedsy Studio. All right.
Excellent. Reedsy Studio.
Reedsy
Welcome to
Studio.
Reedsy Studio. See, that sounded good.
Welcome, everyone. Uh, the usual Plot Geek stuff going on over here. CJ's sniffling, and we're here to show you a new software. It's not a new software. Here's the thing: is it's not a new software, so I don't want to put it that way because Reedsy Studio has been around for a while. It's just I tried it a long time ago. And before, apparently, it had a lot of the features it does now, and I was like, it's not really the thing for me. Um, but this then after our recent pivot, Ricardo at Reedsy contacted me, said, "Hey man, I want to show something we've been working on. This is a really cool demo type thing." And as soon as I saw it, I was like, CJ and I have to switch to this like right now for the book that we're working on right now. Like this is the way to do it. This is just a much better way of doing things. And I personally have been looking for a change from Scrivener. And so you'll see in a moment that I'm still in the middle of this process of switching over from some of my projects from Scrivener over to this. But I have been switching, and you're going to see why in just a few minutes. But so first of all, where we're at right now is Reedsy Studio. I believe it's, let me see what the actual URL is.
Yes,
So I don't,
reedsy.com/studio/write a book or something like that. I
yeah,
think I can
because,
see it right up there. So,
yep, exactly. Okay, so you guys can see it on the screen. All right.
yeah, we
So
can.
anyway, and you can scroll through this on your own. There's a landing page here for each different of the different features that is offered. There's writing, there's planning, there's formatting, there's a certain amount of editing features, which we're going to show you in just a minute. So there's tabs for each of these if you want to look at it before you dive in. But I just recommend that you dive in because first of all, one of the big pluses of this is it's free. In similarity to Google Docs and things like that, this is free right now. Now there are some plans that we know about for some feature add-ons that are going to cost a little bit extra, but I can tell you from playing around with this that those add-ons are going to be worth it. In fact, I am really looking forward to them, and I got some additional ideas that I'll share about what we'd do with Reedsy. But anyway, so we were using Google Docs before, so maybe give everyone a brief overview of why were we using Google Docs, CJ, and why we were not excited about Google Docs.
Well, Google Docs gave us an opportunity in which to collaborate and change things in real time. So we could share the document, we could write within it. We didn't have to like send each other a new Word document where it was like version 1, version 2, final. This is the final. This is really the final. Like we didn't want to go down that route. So we just went with Google Docs, but it's limited in its features, as anyone who has struggled with it knows. Some people love Google Docs. God bless you, and to each your own. Like Troy and I struggle, which is it's not our favorite. We really wanted something that was more similar to Scrivener, but also collaborative in the sense that when we made changes, we made them in real time. And Plotter had really spoiled us in this, in that we could collaborate and make changes in real time with Plotter Pro. And funnily enough, it's like Scrivener plus collaboration plus all sorts of cool things like word counts, and it just looks awesome. So
Yes.
now we have this because we like it, and it it looks awesome. I believe like earlier today, I was like, oh, that's a cool little doohickey. And I said it out loud. And my daughter was like, Mom, your technical terms. Like, seriously, do you ever listen to yourself?
Oh, yes.
I was like, dang it, what was that doohickey? Because I wanted to show it today, and I don't remember because
Yeah.
I called it a
Well,
doohickey.
maybe we'll find it along the way. So you can see I've moved 3 books in here now, and so I'll explain a little bit what's happening, what's going on with this. And so I've moved 3 books in here. I've moved part of 1 book, all of unreadable, because of course I'm doing this in stages because I'm in the process of editing compelled, but I want to. Anyway, it's a little bit easier for me to edit it in this for various reasons. And then I'm working on another project, which is a short story novella type thing, which is obviously not creepy at all by the cover. It's just a pleasant little cozy read that you want to curl up with when you're feeling bad about life. But anyway, Okay, so this is kind of your dashboard. Okay, this is where you bring your books into here. Now, you can import books from Word at the moment. And that process actually works pretty well. I did that with part of Compelled, and then I'm adding chapters as I go through the editing process. But with Drained, I actually pulled it in from Scrivener, from a Word file. Unreadable, we pulled in from a Word file that we exported from Google Docs, essentially. So I've come from Scrivener, Google Docs, and Word all into this Reedsy Studio. It all works, but I had to send it all through Word, essentially. That's not really a problem. Importing from other things is painful. I understand for developers and stuff like that. So this is actually a really slick system. So this is kind of the overview. Okay, this is where you see your dashboard. Now, what you notice is you can see word counts kind of on the face of things, with the exception of Drained. And the reason is I haven't set any goals for that yet. I'll show you what that looks like here in a minute. And once you set goals, then it'll show your word count out on the front of the book and show you how close you are to your goal, where you're headed, because we have word count goals for each one of these projects. Okay, so that was one of the cool things is I bring this in and it just shows me all my titles right here. Now, the other thing I'll mention is this is all online at the moment. Like there's no offline mode. So if you're not connected to the internet, this is not going to work for you. Okay. I used to complain about that because I didn't like things that were like that. But nowadays you have Wi-Fi in your flights, you have Wi-Fi when you're driving, you have Wi-Fi and internet almost everywhere. At least enough internet to run something like this, which is a fairly low demand, what I'd call a low demand program. Okay. So I have not had any issues with that at the moment. I'll be traveling next month. I'll let you know if I have issues with that. We'll talk about that for sure. Because we don't want to give at Plot Geek Academy, we're software agnostic. I'm not giving product demos as some kind of thing where I'm getting some kind of kickback or whatever from people. Although sometimes we'll have affiliate links. What I'm doing is doing stuff that I'm sure will actually work for you, and will actually make your lives better. Okay, so that's what your bookshelf essentially looks like. Now we move down to writing, and for writing, let me see. I'm going to go down to chapter 14, Unreadable. You can see that I have all of mine open here. You see that Drained, like because I don't have any goals yet, overall writing goals, it has not yet set anything for me. So it just tells me, yeah, you have about 3,000 words, but I haven't really decided how long this is going to be. But anyway, so so we'll move to chapter 14, Unreadable, because this is where we have the most stuff. So this is what the chapter that we're writing right now. You can see the grammar things. Obviously, this is a draft, so we'll go through and correct those as we go along. But also, you'll notice that we have the opportunity over here to enable track changes. So if I'm going through and I'm editing CJ's stuff or whatever on her chapters, I'll turn on track changes, and then she can see those changes. She can see what those are like. Okay. So anyway, but this is where everything lives now. It's chapter by chapter, so very similar to Scrivener, and also similar to Scrivener in the fact that I can make chapters here. So I can make a chapter that said Act 1 or Part 1 and Act 2 and Part 2, and then contain the chapters within those different things. So to do that, I'd come up here and add a folder now, or a new part. Now, in this particular case, we're not doing that, at least at the moment, with this manuscript. Maybe we'll do that in revisions. I'm not sure, but we're not doing that right now. But we can add new chapters here or add a new part. And then if you want to drag and drop things, essentially you can come here and just, if I decided that chapter 2 belonged ahead of chapter 1 for some reason, I could drag it up there. I can drag it back. So that's a part of that. Anyway, anything you want to add here about track changes and stuff like that, CJ?
Just that I like it better than having to do suggested changes in Google Docs. It always weirded me out that you could edit, but you wouldn't see any track changes. And then suddenly the suggested edits, and then I don't know. Anyway, this seems a little more smooth. Like it works very similar to Word in that sense. And so I like that a little bit better. I enjoy that feature quite a bit, actually.
Well, let me see if it'll show us. Okay, so it'll show us suggestions here. So we had some comments and suggestions here. And so if I click on the suggestions, it'll go through. That's 8 of 8, 7 of 8. So it goes through some of the other suggestions that we had as well. Oh my goodness, we had a whole bunch of them just right here. But like you can see here where I've made a change, I inserted a comma. And basically at that point, if I just want to improve, if I just want to approve that and say, oh, I like that comma, or I can say, and maybe I don't like that comma, so maybe I'm just going to take that comma out, right? But so we can move through these suggestions, accept them or not accept them, look at the comments, things like that. Very similar to what you do with Word, and in this case, like it doesn't matter what chapter it is. Notice we ended up down here in chapter 6 because that's where the suggestion was. So we can work with all those suggestions and comments. Okay. We can also, so here's where we set our goals. We're saying, hey, we want 70,000 words by November 15th. Going at the rate that we're going, we have to write 561 words a day. I set this goal last week while we were goofing around and demoing this, so I didn't really, obviously we have not accomplished this, but we probably will by the end of a real week. But anyway, overdue September 1st because that was an unrealistic goal we set that was like 2 days after that or whatever. So anyway, but you can set goals here. Any thoughts about the goals and stuff like that, CJ, from your perspective? I mean, I like how it shows your writing sessions, when you wrote what, that type of stuff.
I think what I like is the way that it breaks it down and motivates me, because if I just say to myself in my head, self, you will do this, I don't necessarily visualize it or think about it. And I don't actually, unless it's written down, it's harder for me to achieve goals. It's kind of nice that you can set them right here and it's there. If you actually want to type and look at it as you're progressing, you could. If it's too much pressure and you want to hide it away and look at something else, you don't have to have that on the side while you're typing, but you could if you wanted to. And for me, it actually is really motivating. So I like that I can see that on the side there. It's helpful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It really is. And then we'll look at this pin thing in a second, and I'm going to show you guys something. Now, this writing timeline, what this is you can move back and forth between other versions. So, and then you can star versions and share versions. So it takes a minute to load because it does every time you make changes, it makes a new version, right? But this creates an automatic time machine, which is actually pretty cool. So you can go back to different versions, all that kind of stuff, whatever, things like that, right? And it'll tell you how much time you took in doing that. Typical Word stuff, you can hit find and replace, that type of thing. You can match the word, match the case, all that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can hit search only in this chapter or in the whole book, whichever you want to do. Okay. So search and replace, very similar to Word, very similar to what you have in Google Docs, but I think it's easier to find and a little more robust. Here is your spell check down here. Let me see if I can get that. Okay, come on. Oh, wait, I'm in the wrong place to get the spell check. So I have to be over here to get the spell check, I think. Oh, maybe I'm not. Oh, no, I have to put in the timeline. That's what I have to do. Oh, my goodness. For some reason, I can't get it to come up. Okay, never mind. Anyway, there is a spell check. It happens as you go along. Oh, wait.
I was going to say, do you have to click into it?
I have to.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, I had to click that exit because I had that exit up there.
Then,
anyway, I'm still learning this. So, okay, so it basically there's 391 suggestions. Now, what I have is I have it showing suggestions as I go. If that's distracting to you when you're writing, because I also have Grammarly enabled for Safari, so it shows me two different things, then I can just turn that off. Right, so it doesn't show it as I go, but I can turn it on. Then I can go through these suggestions just like you can with Word and the editor, things like that. And then you can check the document. You can manage your dictionary, add words to your dictionaries, take them away, stuff like that. Okay. Now here's where you can insert images, endnotes, or scene breaks. Right. So those are really helpful things there.
I had not yet gotten to that point. I'm actually really excited. Yeah, I hadn't even checked out the plus sign. What are you talking
scene
about?
break. Yeah,
you
the scene break thing.
I've been manually doing that. Okay.
I know, because I didn't figure it out until the other day either. So I'm like, okay. So anyway, but there's all kinds of stuff here. See, we're still learning this stuff. And then you can split the chapters. So very similar to in Scrivener, where you can split at the cursor, you can split your chapter into more than one thing. So you can say, okay, I had a scene break there, but I don't really want that to be a scene break. I want it to be a chapter break. Then you can do that. Okay. You can delete the chapter. Highly recommend you don't do that accidentally, but okay. And then you can export the book you'll be able to export to docx, I believe, RTF, stuff like that. So it'll tell you, let's see here, print ready PDF, EPUB. Yeah. Oh, this is actually pretty cool. So this is part of the formatting, is you can choose the romance, the classic,
Shut the
the
front door.
Reedsy.
I had not yet gotten this far at
I had
all.
not gotten yet to this
Because I
part
was just
either.
looking at like you could export it like as a Word document, and then I was
Me
going to take
too, but
it into
I
yeah,
knew that you could do this. You can do it to a PDF or to a print ready PDF or an EPUB, which is actually pretty cool. It doesn't have the editing feature or the formatting features that some of the other programs have, but if you wanted to
right.
do something really simple, I mean, oh my goodness, this is really easy. Like there's only a couple different templates, but like it doesn't have to be fancy. Um, so you can, oh yeah, hide chapter numbers, drop caps, end
Ooh,
note
a
positioning, end
drop
of the
cap in there.
page.
That's fancy schmancy. Love it. Oh, you can
Oh,
choose the trim size.
trim sizes. Oh, this is actually really cool.
Reedsy, you've
Anyway,
done
sorry guys, we're discovering this as we go. Back up your
like
book
a
as a
real time
manuscript.
reaction.
Oh, and here's where you can export
Oh,
the docx. You can,
okay,
because that's just called backing up your book. Anyway,
cool.
super super cool. Okay, so anyway, so when you're done, especially if you want really simple formatting, that's easy to do. Now down here obviously is me, that's my account, but this is where I can share. So you can see that we have authors, we have an owner, co-author. I can invite someone else, but I can also create a preview URL. And what that does is that generates a read only link if you want to have beta readers read through your book, but you don't want them to be able to make changes. Then you can create a new link here and then share it with your readers. And you can select a date that it expires, share selected chapters, give them access to the entire book. So you can say, okay, this is going to expire on September 18th. It's just a read only link, give access to the entire book, and I create that link, and then I can share that with someone, right? And they just have to log in and they can view my book. They can't make comments, they can't do stuff like that. Um, but they can play around with it. Anyway, they can read it anyway. So that's one way to share, or we can invite an editor here. So we can invite an editor here who could make track changes and make changes for us. Okay. And then you have your different settings, Reedsy theme, font size, line height. I have used everything that's basically just the default, but you could change these to your own preference if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do. There are some things in the work that Ricardo told me about. There's dark mode coming, things like that. So for those people that want something like that in this section here, things like that. Okay, so this is the writing section, and that's the menu. Some of the things we can do. The reason we didn't talk about the pin thing yet is because that comes more in the planning stages. Now we haven't moved everything in the planning stages into Reedsy yet. We've moved our characters and places, and I'll show you those in a minute, but we haven't moved all of our planning stuff in yet. It's still in the process. But you'll see that we've got this example of the hero's journey. Now, we could create our own templates here with all of these different folders for Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and I'll probably create one of these very soon for the sleuth's journey and for some other stuff because of the stuff that I'm working with. But when you have a card like this, you can hit pin and it pins it to the side. Now, what that happens when you're writing, so you could pin the one for chapter 1, and you could come over here and see chapter 1, or you could pin chapter 1 and then be writing chapter 2, so that you understand this is what happened in chapter 1. Now I can start writing chapter 2. Okay, so you can leave that pin thing whatever you want, and then you can basically just close it if you don't want it there anymore. Which I would probably have it up there for a minute, then I would close it because I don't want it there all the time, right? But you can do that with any of these cards here and any ones that you can add, and you can add whatever kind of cards you want. And when you add a new note, you can add an image to it if you want, or you can just put a note here that's like, this is what's happening in the book at this point. Here's a short description. You can add attributes, and I'll show you those when we get to characters. You can add attributes or add groups, okay, whichever way you want to do that. Okay, and that works more with characters and locations. Okay. Did I surprise you with anything in that particular section?
Indeed, you did, because that is yet again one section that I did not explore. So I'm feeling like behind in my homework where I'm like trying to catch up to you because I'm like, wait a second, Troy already did this? Dang it. He's like ahead of me.
Oh,
Freaking
yeah. Well, I
show
played
off.
around with this part, but we haven't moved everything over yet.
Right.
And the other thing is, in this particular case, like I haven't added all the details to our characters, so I added their names in here and added the. We have not come in and added the details. Now, this is what I've created for attributes. Now, you could create any type of attribute that you wanted, and there are some where it says, the height. You decide if it's text or is it a checkbox? Is it a link? Or is it a relationship? So you could put a relationship there. So you could make relationships between characters, and eventually those will be mappable as well. So anyway, so that's some of the things you can do with characters. I've created folders for these secondary characters, but you can also add groups. Um, so you could add a group name and call them. I haven't done this anything with this group, but you could call it whatever you wanted. And then add attributes to that group. So this could be murder victims, it could be whatever, which is how I think I'm going to use it with some of my other stories. But anyway, I haven't delved too far into that yet. So even though we haven't delved too far into this yet, just know you can add a character image. You can add whatever attributes that you want, which is beautiful because you don't have a big list of things to fill out that may be things that you don't necessarily want to know. But you also don't have such a short list that you can't add some things that you may feel are absolutely necessary. If this was a fantasy, we might need to know something about this person's magical abilities or something like that. So by characters, we're able to just add, stuff to here. Like I say, we haven't really done it yet. We haven't done anything but adding names to it because we're still migrating things over. Any thoughts on that, CJ? I know you're
Well,
you're like, what? Like,
I was sitting here thinking to myself, we do have images, don't we? Oh, I need to stop saying
we
words with the
do.
letter M in them because I sound like this. I'm in
Yeah.
allergy hell, guys. I apologize. But we do have images that we need to
Yep.
transfer over here because I'm suddenly wanting to see all the things so that we can put them in there. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I love
Me
this.
too.
It's fun.
Yes, and
What is
we
the
will we
pin
will
note
update this
duplicate thing?
too
Like go back.
because I have images for the
Oh yeah, you
hotel
do.
too. Yeah, I mean, we have, and like we can enter all this. Like we have all this information.
Yeah, we do have
Obviously,
it
I
all.
put weight as a number. So I chose a number, but you can choose anything for this attribute, which is really cool.
That's
I
kind of
love the fact
fun.
that you can add the relationships. I
Yeah.
think it's really cool. And when you're able to map those, which is some of the coming features that they have,
Uh-huh.
I would love to be able to do that. So, but same thing with locations. Like the cards are all exactly the same, actually. So I can add attributes. I can add photos. I can add a short description. Then I can add a long description here.
Oh, that's nice.
And then I have an idea for our pre-written scenes that we have
Uh-huh.
from the Story Genius method
From
because we
this,
could
yeah,
actually create another section over here, another board, and we could just call this board
pre-writing.
pre-writing.
I love it.
And we could create
Oh,
that board, and then we could create the cards on it. And this would
yes.
be, let's say, you know, misbelief scene one. And there's no reason, because of the way this works, there's no reason that we couldn't have a short description of that misbelief scene here, but
Right.
then that we could have the text of the entire scene down here. So this is one way that I think that we could use this. I know it's probably not a conventional the way some other people are thinking about doing that.
Right.
Um, but and then we could have different folders with different parts of our Story Genius method that we use. And again, when you come over to these things, like you can, if you edit this, you could add whatever icon here that you wanted.
Well, you can
Like,
customize this to fit your and this is the
yeah, so
thing when
you
it
can
comes to
go,
tools like this, you can make it what you want.
yeah, so you could come down here and put whatever you wanted on here. I'm not even sure what I would put on here.
Access to all of these emojis, thrills and delights
Yeah.
me, Troy. I am thrilled
I
and I am
mean, yeah,
delighted.
it's very exciting. So so if I wanted to go writing like this, so we could do pre-write emoji that we pick. Oh, why did that not work? Pick it. There you go.
There you go.
And say, and then so that shows us what that is. And so we can contain all of the stuff that we had two different places when we're using Plotter and Google Docs and Google Doc folders. We can have all of that in a single location. So I think that's pretty dang old cool myself. So anyway, there's all kinds of things. You can create boards, whatever you want. You can create planning boards. You can move things around on the boards. It's really, really a handy, super handy software that, as you can see, as we talk along, like we haven't even fully explored the software yet. But we wanted to share this demo with you to let you know, first of all, that this is out here. Second of all, whether you're doing Nano this November or you've chosen, kind of like we have, to go away from Nano but do our own November event, this is a great way to put in 50,000 words and say, all right, I'm going to nail it. I'm going to hit 50,000 words this year. And it'll give you the breakdown of the words you need per day. It'll give you some encouragement, some things to look at. So I think it's a really great tool. And I think it's going to be a game changer for a lot of people. In a lot of different ways. And the fact that they're continuing to develop things, to me, this is what Scrivener should be now. An interactive, collaborative software you can access on the web and do all kinds of stuff in. Anything else you want to add about this, CJ?
Just that you should use a tool that excites you. I mean, some of these tools are going to be similar. They have definitely similar features and things, but use what you're excited to explore, because some authors just sit there and go, oh, I cannot learn a single other thing when it comes to tools. And that's fine. But if you're looking at this and going, ooh, this looks fun to play with, maybe it's something that's going to motivate you and excite you to attempt a novel challenge in November, which is all that we want you to do, is to do the novel challenge with us. Write the words, write the ding dang book, but get excited about different tools. And if this looks like something that would be really fun to play with because it's got such a fun interface, it's very easy to navigate, then do it and utilize it, especially if it's going to motivate you to write. Okay.
Yep. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. We're really enthusiastic about this tool. We hope that you are too. We hope this walkthrough is helpful. We'll update this walkthrough as we continue with Unreadable and we add things we'll talk about characters and some of these sections in a little more detail as we add details to them. So you can see how we, as working writer, one of the things we like to do at Plot Geek Academy is show you, as working writers, the way that we're using tools. So this is just one of them. We're excited to be using this for Unreadable, so we wanted to share it with you guys. Like I say, now I gave CJ some homework and things to play with, so it's going to be super fun. While I finish writing up chapter 14, a bunch of pictures might appear in our actual file here. You never know. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for this kind of, I don't know, what do we want to call this? A special tool demo edition.
Special tool demo.
Tool demo featuring the Plot Geeks. We'll be doing more of these and walking through some of the software that's offered to authors and showing you whether it's worth it, whether it's not, and whether it's something that might appeal to you. But we happen to be excited about this one, and we hope you are too. We'll drop the links to that in the description below this video. If you like this stuff, hey, subscribe to us, hit that follow and, the notifications bell and all that, so you don't ever miss a thing. Or miss CJ and her allergies and me and doing whatever it is that I do. So anyway, all right. Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.